Today's project is installing a reverse camera on a car that has never had one. I picked this camera up online and I chose this one because it has a super wide field of view, which is going to be really handy, especially when backing out of car spaces. It also had good reviews, it's high definition, and it had some different mounting options like this number plate mounting bracket. In the box, there's the camera, as well as an extension cable to run from the back to the front of the car. To do this install, you need a compatible head unit or stereo that has a camera input. I've recently installed a Sony head unit with Apple CarPlay. I'll include a link in the description below in case you want to see how I installed that. Before I jump into the install, I'm going to show you how everything will connect up because it's a little bit easier to explain with everything out of the car. Over here, we've got the reverse camera video and power adapter. Depending on your camera, you might not have this, but you would have the same outputs that this has. Then we've got the reverse camera extension cable, which has got this additional cable that runs with it. And here we've got a light, which you'll have to use your imagination for, but that's going to act as our reverse light. Over here, we've got our head unit with the wiring harness plugged in. If this is installed in the car, most of these would be wired in. So to start with, the reverse camera adapter cable would get plugged in. Depending on your camera, you might not have that and you might just have these connections. So that is our RCA video cable, and they've got a positive and negative, which is power for the camera. So with the camera, it needs power, but we only want it to have power when the car's in reverse, which is why we're going to take power from the reverse light, because this only comes on when the car's put in reverse. So we can take the power cables from the camera and connect them directly up to the reverse light. So the positive to the positive there, just for indicative connection, I'll just twist those together. And then for our video cable, we can connect the yellow connection there into the extension cable. Then on the back of the head unit, we've got a camera input plug, which is labeled on the back of that, and it's also in the instruction booklet. So we can plug the other end of that extension cable into that. So there's now a connection from the camera to the back of the head unit for the video feed. On the wiring harness, there's this reverse in cable. It's clearly labeled here. It's also labeled in the instruction booklet. And what this does is it signals to the head unit that it needs to show the reverse camera image on the screen. So we only want this to have power when the car's in reverse, same as the camera. Now our extension cable has this extra red cable on it. And what that does is basically save you running an extra cable to the back of the car. This doesn't run into this plug, it actually just runs back and then through this extension cable, and it comes out the other end. And like I said, we just want this to have power when the car is in reverse. So we would connect that up to the reverse positive as well. And then on this end, we can connect that red cable to that reverse input on the harness. So now when the car goes into reverse, the camera will have power. There's a connection from the camera to the back of the head unit for the video line, and the head unit also knows the car's in reverse, and so it can display the reverse image. All right, time to start the install. I'm starting at the back of the car with the camera itself and just working out where to install it. I've got a flat spot where I could mount it there, but it's going to be off center. Up here, there's nothing to mount to. So I'm thinking of putting it behind the number plate. The camera did come with a number plate mounting kit.
I took the number plate off to get access behind it. I then swapped the mounting hardware on the camera to the number plate bracket. Because the screws for my number plate didn't line up with the bracket, I zip tied it in place and it ended up being very secure behind the plate.
Up in here behind the number plate is a little rubber grommet where some of the other cables go into the back of the car, and I'm going to try and use that to push the camera cable through. Should be able to pop this trim off. And that there's where that cable comes through. Pop this little grommet out, and then I can feed the reverse camera cable through there. So I've just cut a little slit in that grommet. I can feed my reverse camera cable through there, and I'm going to push that back into place. This is what it looks like on the inside. And that's what it looks like on the outside. I'm now going to use some zip ties to secure this cable along with the other cables in here. On the end of the cable coming from the camera, there's a couple of exposed wires here of different colors, and you can cut these depending on your installation to do different things. So one of them removes the reverse grid lines on the camera, and one is also if you're installing it on the front of the car as a front camera. I'm just going to leave mine for now. I can then connect my adapter cable. This is the end that needs to go to the reverse light for power for the camera. And then I can also plug in the extension cable, and this is the other power cable that needs to go to the reverse positive to allow the head unit to trigger and show that the reverse camera is on. Behind this piece of trim is where I've got my cables which go to the tail light and the reverse light. So this here is my reverse light, which is these two cables here. Now the black should be the negative and the brown will be the positive. You can test it with a multimeter as well. So now I need to connect my two positives into this one and my earth into this one. An easy way to do it would be to use a T-tap, which is what I've used here, which basically you just put the two cables in that you want to connect and press it closed and it connects them. I don't have any of those handy, so I'm going to cut these and re-solder them. Slide a bit of heat shrink over here.
I'm using 4mm glue lined heat shrink with a 4:1 shrink ratio.
So for the negative or earth off the camera, I can wire it into this earth off the reverse light, but the whole car is earth, so I should just be able to attach it anywhere to the car, which is why I've got this connection here. So I'm going to do that. All right, we're all connected up on this end. Time to just tidy up the cables a little bit. Now I have to get this cable all the way to the front of the car and behind the head unit.
I ran the cable behind the carpet and under the rear seat. A lot of the plastic trim along the door jambs pops off pretty easily, and with it off I was able to run the cable underneath.
All right, I've pulled that cable through to the front of the car. Now I've got to take the head unit out so I can pull the cable through the rest of the way and up behind the head unit. Pulling out the head unit is going to be different in each car, but in this one, it's a matter of pulling out this cup holder first. Can then pop off the rest of this trim. And undo the screws that hold the head unit in place. Now pull the extension cable from the reverse cam through behind there. Then I can plug the yellow extension cable into the camera input plug, which is labelled. And then I need to connect the red cable from the extension cable up to the reverse in cable on the back of the head unit harness. This one's labelled and so is the camera plug, but they'll also be listed in the manual. And if you don't have a manual for your head unit, you'll be able to find one online. Put some heat shrink over here. Now I can slide the head unit back into place. Okay, moment of truth. Not bad. Snaps to the reverse cam fairly quickly. Not bad, but the head unit is a little bit slow to boot, which could be annoying if you're backing out of a space and you're just turning the car on. So I'm going to put it in reverse and then click it and see. Oh yeah, heaps quicker. It kind of skips the boot, jumps straight to reverse. Not bad.